We wanted to make music for people. You see, I believe it's harder to write a song for 10 million people than it is to write a song for 10. You can do it, you know, like a kind of really free-form record and play it to your friends, and they can all say, hey, man, it's really great. Right. But, I mean, to make a record that sells all over the world in millions of different cultures, from Africa to India to Egypt to Australia, it's hard.
Right.
And, you know, all these people that deny it, they're just really stupid people. And
sure.
I think...
But, I mean, apart from the success of the records, though, I mean, you mentioned two names, be it Michael Jackson and Boy George, as opposed to a lot of other people, be, you know, some very fine artists, from even, say, Stevie Wonder to Lionel Richie to whoever, you know? Or perhaps Paul McCartney may be an exception on that rule. But everyone knows those two names. Literally, I mean...
Well, from Michael's point of view, I think it's because of the records and because of his image. Because his image is, like, unique. But...
Well, so is yours.
I have to say with Michael, I mean, I think Michael reminds me a little bit of David Bowie in the sense that 3.5 years ago, I went to see Prince at the Lyceum in London, and he looked like Michael Jackson. Before Michael Jackson, he had that hair and he had those clothes. Michael is a very chameleon-like character. You know, everybody looks at him and says, oh, he's really shiny, but he knows what's going on.
Right.
And I think that because he's so quick and because he's obviously got a good organisation around him, he can always remain on top. But also he's got the voice and he's a great dancer. You know, he's got entertainment down to, you know, that. Right. With me, it's been talk.
Well, I was going to say...
It's been talking.
You've got the image and you've certainly got the intelligence, which I think, first off, a lot of people, perhaps not so here because they probably knew you better, but a lot of people got the shock that suddenly there was this person who was highly intelligent.
Well, they still insult me here.
Yeah?
You know, I mean, it's like, it's the bane of my life. You know, there's some columnist I'd like to strangle, you know, and if I ever saw them, I probably would. I mean, it's just, some people are so insensitive and so stupid.
When you first started taking an interest in music, who was influencing you, if anyone, and what inspired you to go into sort of music itself?
Well, I don't like any bands in particular. I like songs.
Right.
So I could never say I'm a Duran Duran fan or a, you know, Paul Young fan or whatever, Dolly Parton fan. I'm a fan of anybody who makes a good record. And that can change. I mean, if somebody makes a bad record, I don't immediately write them off because I now realise that people can come back, you know, once you have a good record. Right. You know, I don't believe in that myth that once you've had your chance, it's finished. When I was younger, I used to listen to Gladys Knight and the Pips. My favourite female singer is probably Gladys Knight, Denise Williams, loads of men, Glenn Campbell, Gene Pitney, Elvis. Lots of people. I mean, I just like anyone who's got a bit of talent.
Well, I was going to say, because a lot of people find it strange. I mean, even like with myself, where they say you can't possibly like all these forms of music. But then I put it down to musical snobbery, where people sort of try to sort of perhaps lock themselves into one form and not particularly like any other.
Well, you know, the idea, I mean, when you say I'm a music lover, I mean, music takes all different kinds of forms, you know, and if you're a music lover, you have to like everything. And there isn't anything I don't like. Really, I don't like that much heavy metal music, but I quite like Def Leppard. I think some of the stuff they do is quite good. I quite like Led Zeppelin in their day. And I quite like anything that's good. I mean, on every album, you could go and get an album, like there's a second-hand album store in London, you can go and get about 5 albums of unknowns. Guaranteed you'll find 2 songs on the album that you'll like. You know, it's just that people obviously don't get the breaks that they deserve, and that's just tough, you know. Well,
I read somewhere in one interview, or article actually, where they described you as sort of like a ringmaster of a circus.
A circus. Well...
But meaning that there are so many acts that you tend to like to do, even with your own members of your own group. Is that...
Yeah, I think that, you know, after a while, things become boring. I mean, and you have to do certain things to keep it exciting.
I'd known of George from the Blitz and places like that, because I used to be a great club goer, and I knew Marilyn for a long time.
Right.
And I was doing a cabaret down at Heaven, which is a sort of big disco, which is a benefit for this guy Andrew Logan, who just done an alternative Miss World and lost 20,000 quid. So there are loads of acts there that are trying to sort of help raise money for him. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, I staggered out, and there was George and Marilyn and Philip Salon, who's the mate of both of theirs. And Marilyn said, "Yeah, she can sing. She sang on Walk on the Wild Side. Give her a job." And George said, very, very dubious. And then Marilyn said, "Go on, sing." And so he was trying to make me sing outside Charing Cross Station. And George said, "Well, no, she's not a performing poodle." He's very calm and very nice about it. And so what he said was come down to the studio in, I think it's 2 weeks after that, and sing on this song they've got called Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? And so I did.
On the new album, Helen is singing on the new album. She's singing on a couple of tracks. We've got 3 people, Helen, Terry, Adele, and Phil Pickett, who plays keyboards, and they're doing like 3-part harmonies because, you know, it's like a new sound and it sounds great. And I sung backing vocals on Helen's single on the B-side.
Right.
They're really... I didn't want that kind of paranoia, you know, where the artist takes everything. You know, OK, people look at Culture Club and they say it's just Boy George, but when people see us live, they say, wow, the band's great, and they are great. And, you know, everyone in this band is a genius in their own way, and nobody in this band is kind of, could be got rid of.
Right.
You know, I couldn't sack anyone, and they couldn't sack me. This is, you know, like, we were doing this deal with a company in America. I won't name the company for advertising reasons. And the guy said, oh, will this band be the band you bring to America? And people still don't realise that Culture Club is a band. It's 4 people. Right. OK, and there is no separation, you know, and internally within the band, there's a real strength, and although people do try to kind of penetrate that strength, it'll always be very strong because we have a lot of respect for each other. And now, you know, there was a period, I think, when everybody was really paranoid about me getting all the attention. Now everyone's kind of, you know, John goes out shopping, gets mobbed, you know, and it's cool. Everybody now has their own kind of little fan club and their own kind of job and their own kind of role, and that's great. And so that allows me to bring in other people, you know. And, you know, I mean, at first everybody said, oh, Helen, Helen, Helen. But, you know, they love Helen now. You know, Roy, after Church of the Poison Wine, that was the real big thing.
I might add, the church was an outrageous video. It was wonderful. Whose idea was all that?
It was kind of... well, every video's been done by different people. Right. And it was like, you know, every record cover's done by different people and so on and so on. And so it was just... So many people had ideas that we just said, let's just go and film it, and that's what happened. You know, the guy came and had these ideas. That's one of my favourite videos because it's kind of full of energy. But going back to the introduction of Helen, around the time of church, everybody was like really against the idea. You know, I mean, I have to be honest, I mean, in the same way that they were against the idea of putting mouth organ on Church of the Poison Mind. But, you know, within the band, you know, like we argue and then eventually we all agree. You know, it's what they would have wanted. And it happened, and we're really pleased about that.
Right now, well, they've always featured heavily, and it's sort of been little storylines with them all within the film clips. Karma was a totally different film clip. I mean, after seeing Church, and then suddenly there's Karma. I mean, it looked like a lot of fun to do. Where was that done? It
was done on the Thames. You see, we had a choice.
It looked like down in the Mississippi.
We had a choice between doing it at the Hare Krishna Temple and doing it on the Thames, but we opted, you know, for the other Karma.
Yeah.
Which was quite good. It was good fun doing it. The only thing is about the videos is that I've stayed right out of the videos in a way. I mean, I've offered ideas with Miss Me Blind and It's a Miracle. It's a Miracle is, I think, the best video we've ever done. I love it. I wrote the script for that video, and I did it with 4 people, like 2 producers, Zelda Barron and Steve Barron, who did Billie Jean. Right. But the main, you know, genius of that video came from the guy who did the editing, a guy called David Hancock, who's a genius. And when we filmed Karma Chameleon, there was this amazing dance scene which took like 4 hours to film, and they never used it. And I was in America. When I got back, I flipped. I was like, what do you know? Why haven't you used it? And so eventually we're going to do all the videos again, like not record them again. We're going to, you know, when. The trouble with the producers is they get a video and they write a storyline and that's it. Like with It's a Miracle, most of the things that happened in that video happened on the day. You know, I was like walking around in my kimono and curlers saying, let's do this, let's do that. And it drives the producers mad, but it proves a point because every single thing got used. And the same with Miss Me Blind. I stood there all day saying, do this, do that, do this, do that. And it all got used. And that's what you need to do. You know, and that's what we're going to be doing in the future. So I'm going to write all the scripts from now on because I did it right. Like, everybody was saying, George, keep out of the videos. You know, you do everything, so let someone else do it. And they never really turned out how we wanted them to. But at the same token, by the same token, I had a lot of humour in them, which was fine, you know.
Is it hard then now for you to go out and be just George? Like, for instance, to go out and just meet whatever.
Well, I go out, you know, and like yesterday I went shopping in the King's Road. I went to buy some things for the guys, you know, I went to get some things because they're working in the studio. So I went to, Mikey said, oh, get me this, get me that. So I went up there and got it. And I went to buy some furniture and I just went around doing different things. My attitude is, if somebody comes up and says, can I have your autograph, you just sign it.
Right.
if you spend the whole time saying, oh my God, then you just become a recluse and you just drive yourself crazy. So it's so easy to just sign a piece of paper.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if 1 million people came out to me in the street, then I'd just jump in my car, and they'd have to understand that it was like I couldn't stand there all day, because the more people you sign, the more come.
No, but going further than that, I mean, like, say it's like, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock, midnight, you know, and you want to go out somewhere and enjoy yourself. And the chance, you know, perhaps just to meet, you know, just...
I never want to go out to clubs. You mean to pick somebody up?
No. I'm just simply saying...
Is this a leading question?
No, it's not at all. No, just to be yourself.
Well, I am myself the whole time. I'm myself now. Like, I don't go to nightclubs, number one, because if I go to a nightclub, the odds on somebody's going to want to punch me in the face. But by the same token, I don't want to go to nightclubs.
Right.
I did it years ago. It's boring now. And people only go to nightclubs to be
Or to a
seen.
party.
Well, I don't go to parties either, because I don't like them. Dinner parties, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Quiet things, but I get my enjoyment a different way now. You know, I go on stage in front of like 20,000 people. It's like sheer excitement. I mean, that's like going to like 50 nightclubs in a year. It's like complete hysteria, complete excitement. I don't have to go to nightclubs to get that kind of buzz anymore, you know. And also, I used to...